Welcome to a very special episode of Round the Table. This one, we're talking to the lead developer and lead designer of Homie and the Dude, who are just putting out a great new project called Scorched Basin on Kickstarter. Let's just go around and say hi to everybody. Bodhi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Bodhi, and I'm not sure whether I'm the developer or the designer, but I like both of those titles, so I'll
Oh, I
take I'll
meant,
take whichever one.
yeah,
They're both great, and they're better than what I would have given myself. So I will take either of those.
very cool.
Yeah, I'm Bodhi. I've been running Homie and the Dude for a long little while here with my pops, and we're here for some Scorched Basin goodness.
Cool. Thank you for being here today. And Emily, let's go with the lead writer. How about that?
Yeah, I mean that is apparently the title, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm the writer for Homie and the Dude, and yeah, it's been exciting. This is the second project that I've worked on as a writer for Homie and the
Hmm.
Dude, so it's been a lot of fun.
And I remember the first one because my friends in the Nosacast and I did a actual play of the Wandering Tavern, which is where we first met and where I first heard about Scorched Basin, actually. So
Yes.
I it's shaped up really well since then. So how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, good. I think it obviously since we last spoke to you, we've had quite a whirlwind of a year.
Yeah.
Coming up with the Scorch Basin, getting it written, prepping a bunch of stuff for the Kickstarter, as well as also then reaching out to so much of the community and trying to make this a very community-backed project, and trying to work with the community to give something back to you guys as well, which is why we're not doing any of our like advertising through any big corporations or things like that. And really wanting to work and give back to the community with this one. So it's been a fun year of like actually meeting a bunch of amazing people in the space and writing with Emily and creating awesome like content for you guys. And it's been a really fun year. Lots of highs, a few lows across the way, but that's how it goes. And it's just been really, really fun. This year has been possibly my favorite year for creation because Emily and I got to go way above board with this one. We went
Too
Yeah.
way
much.
wild with the Scorch Basin. So it's been a pleasure to go that crazy with it. What about you, Em? How's this year been for you?
It's been great. Yeah, I think so. The Wandering Tavern felt like a lot like home for a really long time, but
Hmm.
then the Scorched Basin has just been so just exciting, and there's just so much going on. We did too much. We've been saying this for a while. It's too big. It's amazing. It's too like the scope of it. We just had these ideas, and then we kept getting more ideas and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, I'm really proud of the Scorch Base, and I'm really excited for people to see it, to play it. The Wandering Tavern reaction was really really nice, so I'm excited to hear like people's adventures and how they interact with the characters and stuff. So yeah, I'm so hyped that we're at this point. We're launching and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing you could have as a creator is to see people interacting with your stuff.
Mm.
And I look forward to that. I like that for you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing that too. So
Oh yeah.
we've been talking a little bit about Scorched Basin, but what exactly is it for those who haven't heard about it yet?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. It's a Dune and Mad Max inspired TTRPG setting that is completely system agnostic. It can be used with any system that you play at your table. And within there, people might be wondering what's Dune and Mad Max. Well, imagine you're taking high fantasy, high sci-fi kind of situation and mashing that with the grungy metal gearhead aesthetic of Mad Max. So it's essentially a meteor crash site that has been turned into a basin, that is filled with five factions that are competing for resources,
Hmm.
and trying to basically survive the arid wasteland in which they all live. But yeah, it's there's loads to it, and there's so many different facets. But primarily, that's the setting and the concept for where we went into that.
Very cool. And not only that, you've done a lot of like new systems in this. I remember there was like an alchemy system. You've got a new species. You've got new languages. You've got new creatures. There's a lot here.
Yeah. Yeah. Em,
There's a challenge.
do you want to talk about the alchemy system? Because that was your baby and that was something that you are super proud of. Do you want to talk about how we developed that and came about that?
Yeah, I love the I'm so into the alchemy system. I'm such like a like I like all the little things. I like the small things that you can kind of use to kind of combine stuff and like make it a bit more grounded, you know. So we
Hmm.
had this chapter, our flora and fauna chapter, and we've got all these insane desert creatures, which there's
Ooh.
art all over for them. But yeah, we've got some amazing desert creatures, and then we've got a ton of like crazy plants and stuff. And I was like, cool, how do we combine these two? How do these actually fit into the world? Alchemy was kind of the obvious solution.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a whole system where you can take the different plants and the different animals of the basin and merge different parts of them to create different potions, essentially, that have
Cool.
different abilities within the world. Which, yeah, I just love. I love that magic stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely a fan.
Think that Skyrim kind of alchemy vibe where if you wanted to,
Okay.
Yes.
you could literally have your players having to work out what the plants do by combining them and working out, you know, what the properties
Yeah.
are of the plants. Or you could
Mm.
just outright give them the properties and let them then, you know, go crazy. If they're already
Yeah.
experienced people in there, they, you know, you could base a whole character around someone making potions with all the different plants that we've brought in. But like you said, there's also species. You know, we've added a new species. We've got a new magic system. We've got languages. You know, we really
Languages
wanted
are
to.
cool.
Thanks, Em. I
That's
appreciate
that's
that.
Bodhi's baby, the
That's yeah.
languages.
I for some reason just fell into like a neurospicy wormhole for a little bit where I just wanted to make some languages, so we developed actually a an American Sign Language based language, which
Yeah.
will teach people what is called basic signing and things like that, as well as also given you another fantasy language to run at your table. We've got a Morse code based one, and then a whole other one that we invented ourselves as well, which comes with typable fonts and all the good stuff.
Cool. So I wanted to ask a little bit about the ASL one, the American Sign Language one. Where did
Mm.
the idea begin with that one? Because it's a really cool idea to just straight up incorporate that into a TTRPG setting.
So I think a couple of different places. For me, Emily was so awesome when she was developing the Unsettled, which are kind of like our take on the Fremen from Dune. These
Mm.
nomadic people that kind of are one with the desert and things like that. Um, Emily designed them so that they basically do a lot of their interaction in life through hand gestures, whether that be, you know, we made it that they have to physically touch things to be able to use their magic and manipulate the wave frequencies within those things.
Okay.
We made it that, you know, they don't really talk to one another because they feel like that's something their ancestors did and they're trying to move away from that and protect those
Okay.
secrets. So they're working more kind of with this already tactile existence anyway. And so when I was developing their language, I was like, well, it makes sense that they would do sign language to each other if they're not talking. That's, you know, the default. And then the further thing that came about it was I started researching sign languages and starting to do a bit of like understanding of the space because I personally have only learned a little bit of sign language in like high school and things, but I hadn't gone much further than that. So I wanted to understand it. And there's hundreds of sign languages across our like actual world, not the
Mm.
Scorched Basin, but across our actual world. You know, there's hundreds of different sign languages for different countries, different languages, all this kind of stuff. And so there was a lot to choose from. Now, the Unsettled, again, because they have to manipulate frequencies by touching things, they're going to need a hand free in combat to be able to continue using their magic while also communicating with other people. And so I found ASL because it is one of the few sign languages that was partially military
One-handed.
developed. So it's one handed, exactly.
Okay.
So it means that they could communicate with one hand while also using the other hand to continue using their magic. And it kind of fell into place there. I then reached out to an incredible company here in the UK called Appa Me. and they're a leading deaf and hard of hearing assistance and translation company here in the UK. They're incredible, and they helped us out by, you know, making sure that the resources that we provided were really accurate. We got videos from an incredible sign language artist called Lorraine, who I went and actually filmed with for the day, where she was, you know, signing out stuff from the Scorched Basin, and you can actually find that video on our Kickstarter page. It's all linked there. Yeah, it was just a really beautiful experience. In the end, we ended up coming to a place of like something that we wanted to develop as a fantasy language became this beautiful thing where we're spreading some accessibility. And, you know, if people are learning it at their D&D table and having fun with it, then maybe they'll be able to, you know, they're at the bank and, you know, someone who's deaf or hard of hearing is struggling with something. Maybe they can communicate with that person and help them out a little bit, even if through just spelling the words out through basic signs. I don't know. We just wanted to spread a little bit of accessibility and things like that as well. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. You know, you went down a rabbit hole and you found your way to Wonderland with that one, I think.
Thanks, man. Thanks. But that's the thing. You can see like my mind process of like, you know, Emily is our incredible creativity when it comes to writing. Emily brings the grand ideas and the amazing conceptual stuff. And what I do is I weave the threads together. I'm the continuity person. And so, you know, for me being like, they need to have one hand free to continue, you know, if they're in combat fighting with their magic, but also need to be able to communicate. That's the type of mind path that I like going down when I'm writing this kind of stuff. And so that's super important to me, that all of it is lore accurate and would make sense within the setting that it's in, that we've developed, basically.
Absolutely. I totally feel that. I feel the same way about working with Skies of Fortune, that I want the lore and the systems to be meaningful as a whole.
Yeah.
So going back to the desert setting, you know, what speaks to you about like an arid setting like this? What do you think is the thing that draws people into a desert setting?
There's a lot of great things about a desert setting. I think obviously in like TTRPGs, there's a big lean towards these like fantasy elements where it's like kind of like forests and I mean there's a space element as well. I feel like you see slightly less deserts. But then if you look at like post-apocalyptic movies and TV shows and stuff like that, I feel like deserts are a pretty big one because there's so much scope for danger. Like when the landscape itself is trying to kill you, it's like you throw a couple of enemies in there as well, you've got a party. Like there's a lot of danger, there's a lot of deadliness. I think so the terrain section of the Scorched Basin, which is Bodhi's beautiful mind child, is insane because you've got, I mean, and you can take out or use this stuff depending on how you want to run your session. But like moving across the sand dunes is different to moving across the salt flats or entering like the canyon. There's going to be different elements and different kind of problems that will come about compared to going in the dead forest, which is like petrified woodland basically. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun with all the different terrains and stuff. But yeah, I think definitely the desert is it just feels so serene and like otherworldly with that danger element. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to explore there.
I think Emily really, really nailed exactly the thing of like, it becomes another factor to contend with. It really becomes like, it's this looming, like somehow BBEG that you don't really ever face or have to deal with, but it's just constantly there bearing down on you. And, you know, for new players, it will be something that as they're going, they're like, oh God, we need to make sure we're hydrating. We need to make sure that, you know, we're wearing the right gear to traverse certain terrains and things like that. But for someone who's experienced in the basin, they've, you know, maybe played in multiple sessions or multiple campaigns, they'll know what to expect. There will be someone who is hardened to those things. So like a Canadian might be to the cold, or, you know, a Spaniard might be to the warmth. You know, it's a similar kind of situation where you will begin being like, okay, if we're crossing this amount of time, we're going to need this much water. We're going to need to probably get some hydro suits or be, you know, inhaling active crystal dust or things like that to help us, you know, make these journeys. And so, yeah, Emily's totally right. Everything Em said is exactly right. It's that beautiful third element that you don't often get when you're in things like, Waterdeep and there's a city, and
Yeah.
the city's not fighting back at the same time, and so I think that's the thing that takes it to the next level for sure.
Absolutely. If you, and especially, it sounds like you have all the elements if you wanted to add some survival elements to your campaign in there. If you really want to immerse yourself in that desert setting, you've got all the stuff there that a GM or a party is going to need to be able to do that. So cool.
Yeah.
Is there any piece, we talked a little bit about the desert and sci-fi and fantasy, but aside from Dune and Mad Max, is there any particular sci-fi or fantasy property that's desert themed that really is like a favorite of yours?
Oh, great. That's a fantastic question. That's such...
You know what? The Mad Max kind of scrappy, I don't know if this is what you're going to say, Bodhi, but the post-apocalyptic, which is what I said before, that one's definitely a draw, but also like the kind of steampunk elements of like getting in your vehicle and driving across like the desert and stuff like that. That's definitely a big one for me. What were you going to say, Bodhi?
I think me and Emily, and Emily, this is something that I very much brought to the table early on, is I'm a master of pulling my observed media from my life and combining it into something, new and fresh. And I think Em has really taken this on and is starting to do it a lot herself with combining amazing stuff from different things that she's absorbed and brought into the world as well. And I think, for me, I would say things like Fallout, which is, incredible, has incredible desert sections, things like that. I know me and Emily share a love for the movie John Carter, I believe it's called.
Oh,
yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah. And then obviously the classic Tatooine Jakku from Star Wars. There's so many incredible sci-fi desert locations that exist out in the ethos. But yeah, we tried to pull bits from all of it. We really tried to pull stuff from as much as we could to bring this into a whole new kind of space with the creativity around desert in science fiction, fantasy, because, it has been done a bunch of times. You look at things like Wheel of Time and stuff, and there's a huge section based in a desert in Wheel of Time. There's loads of, it's littered throughout our genres, but yeah, combining that was what we felt was going to really elevate this to the next level, basically.
For sure, and it looks like a lot of fun. I definitely approve of the sort of Mad Max aspect of it with your. And what are the vehicles called again? They're not. Were they rigs? Were they?
Ashes.
Thank you.
Bashers.
Bashers. Yeah, that's even better. Cool. So here's a question about the system. How was it going system agnostic? Was it challenging? Was it freeing? Was it a bit of both? How was it just going through that process?
It's been a slow bleed. It's been a slow bleed because when we did Wandering Tavern, we did half system agnostic, half 5e. And that was just because we just weren't confident enough to step away from the D&D dragon at that point, as it were, and step into kind of our own place. But with this one, we just believed that this is a setting for everyone. Like D&D players should be able to enjoy it. Cthulhu players have a place in this setting. Tales of the Valiant, Shadow Dark, Morkborg. You could even run things like Pirate Borg and other variations of that. There's Blades in the Dark could easily function here. Pathfinder, Fate, Cypher, all of them. They all have a place to run this in their system, and we didn't want to take away from anybody, because here's the thing: what you play at your table might be different to what I play at my table, and that might just be what we and our players love. I know some tables rotate systems and are constantly changing their systems. Other tables, are die-hard one system and will never play anything else for the entire time that they play the game. And so we wanted it to be something that everyone could do. Now, for me, the thing that I'm proud of is this is a whole system agnostic language. I've essentially written a way to write books in a language that allows for any system to be used. Now, we're hoping to release that to the public actually post Kickstarter with an OGL, so that people can essentially write books using this language and be able to also create system agnostic products and not be beholden to, falling into either one or two categories of being like, oh, it's Daggerheart and D&D compatible, or, whatever it might be. So we want to just kind of spread a little bit of that. And also, I mean, like, honestly, we started off as a D&D company / like players. And then when the OGL crisis happened, we started playing other systems, and I have not run a D&D game since. I've run, a bunch of other systems, and my favorite system is not D&D. It's Orbital Blues. And so, I actually, when writing this, was thinking about how I would maybe try and run this in Orbital Blues and things like that. So it all came down to just writing that language, which is based on a range band system that is easily interpretable and convertible to pretty much any system. And a GM who has done any small amount of homebrewing where they've, either modified a character, changed an NPC stat block, or altered a creature stat block or anything like that, will easily be able to understand what we're doing here and convert it, basically. So it was a fun process. I mean, it was hard, and I definitely want to refine it. As Em knows, like, there's sections of it where I'm like, oh man, writing this same bit of writing that I've now done for the millionth time. I'm like, I could have made this simpler for myself in some way. So I'm hoping that this first version that we're going to release post this Kickstarter will be refined a little bit more. And then I hope with each, Kickstarter after this, and each, product that we release after, to just keep refining that, so that we eventually have a system agnostic language that everyone can use.
No, that's awesome. I love that. It sounds like you kind of had to bash up against this for a while before you got it, but I'm glad that you were able to sort of get to it.
Thanks.
Because it's not easy. I've thought about this myself, and I'm like, how would I even go about this? But it sounds like you may have done the hard work for me, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think a lot of this writing stuff, and you'll probably understand this being a creator in the space, is looking to give people something that they're maybe not getting elsewhere, or is unique or slightly different. And so, whether it's, stylizing your questions for a podcast in an interesting way to invoke interesting conversation, or me trying to develop a system agnostic language to write books in, it's the same thing. Like, it's one of those of just trying to find that space where it's like, what do I want in this space that I'm missing? Because, I love some of the stuff I have. I have a cyborg book that has some incredible content that I really wish was way easier convertible to other systems that I would love to play for sci-fi stuff. Even though I love the Morkborg system. And there's other things in Orbital Blues that I would love to pull across the Swan Song mechanic to another system, and I'm like, it's just not easily convertible at all. So it is one of those that I just hope we find that path for people.
Okay, that is very cool, and I appreciate that you're trying to put this out there to make it accessible for everybody. So yeah. So here's a question for Emily. We talked a lot about the lore of the Wandering Tavern when we had that NASAcast podcast a few months ago. And we talked about I remember Spider Game of Thrones was something that came up as one of the things that you really enjoyed about writing that. Is there any piece of lore or pieces of lore that you are really especially proud of for Scorched Basin?
Great question.
Great question. I honestly, Spider Game of Thrones will always be the OG now. I love it so much. But in Scorched Basin, there's so much. So the kind of the overarching lore of the Scorched Basin is that this meteor of pure crystal hit the ground, hit this little sleepy town, destroys everything, like absolutely decimates the entire world, the area, makes this giant crater, which then is just heating up and becomes this desert vibe. So that's the Scorched Basin. Basically, it's these 5 tribes essentially trapped in this crater. So the very few people who survived, kind of some went underground and kind of over time became this colony of underground beings. They're blind. They're very sensitive to like sound and hearing and stuff. They have this really beautiful like song kind of way of speaking.
Ooh.
That's the Doflock. And then the Unsettled is like a branch of those guys that kind of made their way back to the surface and kind of reacclimatized a bit. Those are the Fremen-esque like wandering nomads, very connected to nature and stuff. We've got the Skara, who this band of like super fierce female warriors, and they're just cool. They're all about their community. They're all about strength. They decide everything through Reiks, which are like combat, like hand-to-hand combat.
Okay.
So that's awesome. The Riders, I feel like we've mentioned already, they're the Mad Max inspired tribe. They race around the basin on bashers and stuff, and they cause a lot of trouble. They're rascals, they are.
Sign me up for that one.
Exactly. People love the Riders. And then the final tribe is the Kai, who are this kind of more, basically they're these people who they found a water source fairly early on. They built themselves into the side of the basin wall, built this fortress, and basically they are, if you wanted to like in real life live in the Scorched Basin, the Kai is kind of the place to be, because they have food, they have water, they're kind of okay. Their whole society runs on their talents. So there's a big social hierarchy, and there's like a system for that and everything. And they're all about like the more talented you are, the higher in society you are, basically, and that's them.
I've gotten to
like
know
a
them a
piece of
little bit, and
lore.
we'll get into the reason why for
Yeah.
that later. But yeah, go ahead.
Ooh, I'm
Please
excited.
continue. Yeah.
I'm excited now. But yeah, I'd say for a piece of lore that I really like, there's lots of little things. I'm a massive fan of like going into the NPCs and then their tiny little bits. Me and Bodhi was actually talking about one the other day. There's an unsettled character called Arlo, and his whole arc is basically that he accidentally killed a fellow unsettled. And in the unsettled culture, if you break a law, if you do something bad, they have these 3 merciful acts. The first of which is that they chop off one of your hands, basically to start severing your connection to the current. So this guy had his hand chopped off, and in his like shame and guilt, basically left the tribe and is just wandering the basin, and doesn't really like interacting with people, doesn't really want to be involved in the unsettled stuff. But he still kind of needs this supply of crystal, which the unsettled will like inhale to enter the current, which is their magic system. So the plot hook that I love with him is that he is very skilled at a branch of the current called object manipulation. So he can take an object and transform it into a different object. The Riders love this guy. Considering the Riders and the Unsettled have this giant beef, they like just hate each other. There's so much history and bloody warfare between the 2 tribes. The Riders love this guy Arlo because he can just make any basher part that they need, he can make it. So you've got this situation where this guy who is not at all interested in hanging out with anybody except for his plodder, he's roaming the desert, he's fine on his own. These Riders just keep going up to this guy and being like, can you just make this for me? Can you just make this for me, please? And there's something about it that just tickles me. I love it so much. And there's like a million examples like that.
Yes.
No spiders in this one, unfortunately, but maybe next time.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like that. I like this Arlo character. You know, it seems like definitely a way for the PCs to connect to the setting is to meet this dude who probably doesn't even want to help them, but could be very helpful if they manage to befriend him. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's little connections like that that are just the bread and butter of every TTRPG system.
Yep. Just built-in likable NPC. You know, love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so here's a design question then. So, you know, Bodhi, when we're talking about vehicle systems, this is not the first one that you've made. I mean, you had Sky Zeppers. I was a backer of Sky Zeppers. Very cool system. So how was it going from the sky to the desert sands? What were the differences there?
Dude, it was like getting my wings clipped, man. No, I'm joking. It was honestly, it was great because what's interesting about it is we took Sky Zephyrs as a whole, is predominantly system agnostic accidentally. It just uses a very small amount of D&D language to pull like the final bits together. Like, instead of, we use dexterity, strength, and constitution in that system, for example, but those could easily be replaced by something else and it could still function in the exact same way, basically. And so what I did was I actually took Sky Zephyr's, I made it fully system agnostic, and then I wrote all the new mechanics for land vehicles, basically. So things like open top bodies, things like, motorbikes and stuff that don't have, a sealed roof on them, vehicles that have sealed roofs, how the different terrains affect the vehicles, what ramming and grappling looks like, when you're driving and things like that, things where you can enter a flip and get like tumbled and things like that if you get rammed. And cool stuff like that. There's a bunch of new mechanics laced all the way throughout this. And it's just really, really fun. And to be fair, as much as I contribute a bunch to it, we also have to shout out our Lentric, the Australian YouTube content creator, because he has been part of the writing team here at Homie and the Dude, and he actually worked profusely on this vehicle mechanic system himself, and brought so much to it, just brought so much to it. And the big thing I would say as well is Sky Zephyr's was my first book. It was the first thing I ever wrote. And it was, the system, though very good, has a level of crunch to it that you can minimize by tweaking things, but it's still, quite crunchy. For this next one, I tried to, again, bring it, like reduce the crunch levels down even further, simplify even further, make it even easier to kind of understand and navigate and kind of work through. So again, I've just tried to continue simplifying and making it so that it's accessible to new players and players who are veterans as well. But dude, honestly, it's I never thought I was going to enjoy writing game mechanics. Like I always thought I was going to be like the lofty ideas person, and I'm so not that person. I'm so like I ended up loving the machinations of like, oh my goodness, and if we do this, then it's +4 to this, and that does that, and blah blah blah. And I think I'm not a min-maxer so much when I play the game. So when I like get a chance to be a player at a table, I'm not much of a min-maxer. Or I don't allow myself to be because I want to, lean into my RP a little bit more. But there is a part of me that loves, the Magic the Gathering side that like wants to combo 6 things together and ruin someone's day, So I do enjoy that mechanical element now at this point, and I'm really, I had fun with it, dude. Honestly, and working with Arlo is a great. Me and him are really good homies as well, so it was just a really fun time to work on that aspect of this. And Em and Arlo actually then went away and wrote out all the bashers themselves and have done that. So those are awesome. And honestly, the way that I was thinking, because once I make a system, I in some ways limit myself and follow my own system rather than trying to break my own rules. Where Em and Arlo, they go completely out the box and make amazing stuff. So all the bashers. Yeah, then I have to re-put in boundaries in some places, but it is one of those where they come up with such wild stuff that I would have never thought of, that makes the things that then I then I'm like, okay, we don't need that much damage, just bring it back down in some ways. But I am also like, wow, the concepts for some of these parts and stations of the vehicles are so unique and so valuable, and when used with another part on that same vehicle, it becomes this very interesting situation that the players are engaging with. So I think honestly, the system's cool, but the bashers that are going to use the system are what are going to make it stand out, because they're so freaking diverse and awesome that I think people are going to love that part of it for sure.
Absolutely. That would be the thing I would be most looking forward to personally. But
yeah.
Obviously our Lentric was not your only collaborator. You had quite a few well-known TTRPG content creators as guest writers and creators. I guess creators is a better word for Scorched Basin. Yes. So that's a lot of imagination to try and put into one project. So what was the process with designing and writing with all these very creative minds?
Great. Well, They actually did expansions for us. So those guys have done like what we're calling like DLC expansions almost. So each
Yeah.
one of the four incredible people, Zach the Bold, Cinderblock Sally, Skylar ADHDM, and Deck of DM Things Cole, they added these incredible expansions, and they're absolutely fantastic. Each one of them went so hard and really pushed the boat out for us in terms of creating content that is super lore accurate, adds loads to the game, and gives GMs and players so much more to explore. But M actually worked like a lot more personally with the guys on the actual creative process. So M, you take away on how that was.
Yeah, so all of them, as Bodhi said, brought something really unique and different to the project, which was really great to see. I worked with Zach the Bold for a while, which was amazing. Zach's a lovely dude. He basically made like an adventure for the Rider faction, which is kind of eldritch horror inspired, and I won't spoil anything, but involves like a cursed crystal and some really creepy like villains and a grand chase, and yeah,
Ooh.
it's really epic. He really took what we had, like our lore, and just kind of turned it into his own kind of brand, which was awesome to see. And then Skylar did a fantastic job as well. He also did an adventure, but for the unsettled, and it's kind of like this like race through the labyrinth of lost souls, which we call it, and yeah, it's awesome. He really ties it into like the wildlife. There's so in the labyrinth of lost souls, there's like a lot of creatures that can be really deadly, and he really tied that in. So it was great. It was honestly such a great thing to see them using and like really embracing the lore that we'd already written and then forming something new out of it, because obviously that's what GMs are going to do, really, is
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to take what we've got and they're going to put their own twist on it. So it was fantastic to see that in like an up close and personal way, which was fun. You did
Absolutely.
a lot of more work with Cole, didn't you, Bodhi?
Yeah, so Cole actually did items for us. He did
Mm.
he did a like little NPC that's a dude that's wandering collecting items in the basin. And he made some incredible items, things that are like there's an amazing character. I know it's one of M's characters and one of M's favorite characters, and also for me one of my favorite characters as well. There's a character called Evie, or Evie, who basically is royalty in the Kai, but kind of leaves the Bastion to go on this whirlwind adventure where she wants to go document the creatures and the landscape of the basin
Mm.
and go explore, basically. And she leaves with her sworn protector, this amazing cry-clad knight called Lyra. And they go about, and Evie has this book that she carries where she's documenting everything, and she has all this stuff that she's kind of building up resources and information on. And Cole actually included that book as one of the items in his
Oh,
thing. You
cool.
can actually find her book now and things like that. So he just went above and beyond with these items. And then Cinder did a bunch more creatures slash monsters for the basin that are more based on like the terrains and are like really suited to the areas that they live and how they function, are very symbiotic. A couple of the creatures that live in the same area will actually work together if you start messing with them, and will combine their things to be a problem for you. So Cinder just, oh, man, just absolutely crushed it with the creativity of those creatures. They're on another level, to say the least.
Okay. Well, that's really cool, and I think it's just like you're sort of having your cake and eating it too with this, because you get to already see what people are going to do with the things that you created. Um,
Yeah.
it's very cool. All right. So I'll talk a little bit about what my own contribution is going to be here with you're getting players and GMs. One of the things I like about your products is that you sort of feel like you make them with an eye of getting players and GMs quickly immersed and invested in your setting. And one of the ways you're doing that this time is with collaborator NPC voiceovers. So, what are you doing with that? Maybe I'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to do with that too.
Oh, we honestly can't wait to hear about yours. And on our end, we had planned. Emily and I had spoken about, because when we did Wandering Tavern, we did a stretch goal that Em and I came up with that was I was going to do some VO for some of the NPCs that we had throughout the book. And I think, I'm not sure, did you do one, Em, or did Tracy also do one? I can't remember which one of, because I know one of you guys did.
I did two, I think. I think Tracy maybe did one as well.
Yeah, so we had like our team basically doing the VO for Wandering Tavern. And we were just like unsure about how to get the VO in the book. We were like, do we just give people the files like in fulfillment or things like that? So we just didn't really know. And going into this one, I was like, I have an insane idea. I was like, why don't we, in the same way that we want to put a soundtrack in the book with VOs, put QR codes throughout the book that you can scan and it will play like the VO that is with that NPC or something like that. And we were like, that's an awesome idea. And so originally we were gonna like do it again within our team and within like our close friends within the space and even just like other close friends, just because we thought it'd be funny to have our friends doing the NPCs.
Absolutely.
And then and then Tom and I were talking about this and we were like, what if we gave it to our community and the wider people, because so many people want to get into voice acting. You know, it's such a big, the Venn diagram with TTRPGs and voice acting is so overlapping that we're like, maybe the community would want to make some of these. And we put it out to a few people and the reception was crazy. Everyone was just like, yeah, that's awesome, I'm in. And so we just expanded and reached out to more people and you know, Em was coming in and being like, this is someone that I love on Instagram. Can we talk to them? You know, kind of thing. And so we've been messaging folks, and just, you know, the reception has been incredible from people like yourself and the rest of the community who have given us an opportunity to incorporate such an amazing like thing that we've not seen in TTRPG books before. You know, in one of our products. That's something we super appreciate.
Yeah,
it's been a big opportunity for us to kind of it's basically been just so exciting for us to be able to connect with the creators that we love so much. That's been the best part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I haven't recorded my lines yet, but what I'm going to be doing a Kai citizen. You know, that we were talking about them as kind of like the people on the side of the basin who have it a little bit better than the rest. And what caught my attention about them was their fashion sense, right? They have this. They have these big geometric shapes, like very angular designs in their fashion. So they have some very outlandish looking things. So I thought, I'm going to make use of that when I do my lines about, you know, maybe like a Kai citizen who's like, oh, look at that basin dweller, completely smooth design, no style at all.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. And do you know what, actually, everybody who has seen the Kai stuff says very similar stuff, that the fashion and stuff is crazy. And that's a testament to our artist, Art of Caustic, Alex. He's been with us the whole time. He did the Wandering Tavern, he did Skiesoffortune, and he's doing Scorched Basin with us. And God, dude, when Emily and I, because what we do is we kind of mood board, especially at the early stages when we're working out how like a group of people are going to look. We kind of pull in reference images and mood board a bunch of stuff. And we were like, this is kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah.
We had some bits from the TV show Arcane. We had some bits from Dune in terms of like the Bene Gesserit and stuff like that. We had some stuff from Hunger Games, the Capitol in Hunger Games. And we just like pulled on a bunch of different things. And he just ran with it. He just absolutely ran with it. And yeah, just cooked and pulled out a masterpiece. And so we fell in love with that, and that ended up developing into this whole idea that they are these people that care about, they're super self-absorbed and narcissistic while also being really about creating for the people and wanting to be artists and, you know, being super like at the forefront of trends and things like that. Yep. And always trying to be fashionable and you know, him going about it that way, you know, when me and him saw that, we were like, okay, we need to lean into this 100%. Like we need to go forward to that. And do you know what, honestly, a lot of that comes from when Em and I were talking about it, was just Em running with this. I was like, what if they just really like creative stuff? And Em just went again to town with being like, okay, so maybe they should, you know, be like this and develop like that. And so yeah, it was the Kyre easily, maybe drawn first for me, but they're up there for me as one of my favorite factions. To just, you could be in the Bastion for, you know, a whole campaign or a whole, you know, couple arc or, you know, of a story, and you wouldn't even have to leave the Bastion, because I think there's so much to explore and encounter there alone. So I think, you know, M really, along with Alex, just made that into just, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole book for sure.
Yeah, it's very
And
cool.
the Bastion is one. Sorry,
No, please go
sorry,
ahead.
go for it. Oh, I was just going to say that the Bastion is actually one of the biggest battle maps that we've got as well. There's 4 layers of that one,
Oh, wow.
which is, yeah, it's huge. It's massive. It's sprawling. It's endless. So it's definitely one of the kind of key spots on the map.
Yeah, agreed.
And, you know, is it the same artist that does the battle maps? Because, you know, I've seen the Wandering Tavern ones, and those are really great, really detailed. What great cartography. You know, I definitely enjoy that.
He's a legend. Go on,
yeah,
Em. Go for it.
The same guy who did the Wandering Tavern has
Okay.
done the Scorched Basin battle maps, which is great. His name is Vic, and he did it. He does a great job. He's got a fantastic attention to detail. So all of the battle maps have like all this like tiny little detail, and yeah, it's really fantastic.
It's
Cool.
super interesting when M has calls with Vic, M will give him like a lore brief about an area, and we'll be like, you know, this is gonna be the market in the place, and there's gonna be people, and they're gonna be doing stuff. He's then like, he will then run with it, go crazy, and come back, and he'll be like, okay, so in this room, there's a pot here. This pot is because they do this, and that bed is situated like that. And he like fully creates his own like lore for how it all functions and
He
how,
needs to.
and again, continuity wise, you know, it's just everything functions exactly as it should within the lore. On the battle maps, everything that's there is there because it functions within our lore, and that's that, you know.
Love to hear that.
In the Riders, there's a place, there's one of the boats in the ship graveyard, which is kind of where the Riders not live, but like they frequent it a lot. It's got a lot of their kind of core things there. There's this one boat that has a gum cactus farm on, which is how they make like rubber and stuff for their tires and for their hydro suits. And I when I was making this map with Vic, I was like, cool, I want this boat and I want there to be like a cactus farm on it. And he was like, cool, but why? So I was explaining to him what it does. And I left. When I came back, he'd had this whole system. He's like, cool, this is where they dry it, and this is where they pulverize it, and this is where they have to like spread it out so it's nice and thin so you can do this. And I was like, what? I just wanted to farm, dude. But yeah, he's fantastic. He really runs with it. So yeah.
Love that. You know, love that attention to detail. You know, it's great when someone can take your idea and just kind of expand on it, you know, just make it even better than you thought it could be. Just very love that part of the creative process, but that part of working with artists, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's why collaboration's some of the best. It's why, and honestly, it's something that took me some time to learn when me and M first started getting like writing together. Like when I did Sky Zephyrs, it was me and another guy, but it was predominantly me. And then when M came on board, M took on so much more of the writing, and realizing that I was made 10 times better by having M on board, because she, you know, brought so much more to the table, and also like filled gaps in my knowledge and inspiration and style, and was able to bring her amazing style to that. So that is the beauty of collaboration. We're lucky that, you know, Chris Hopper, our layout artist, Alex, our artist, you know, Vic, map maker, you know, Tallulah, editor, you know, all these incredible people that we get to work with. Our Lentric, you know, we're so lucky because we just get along with these people. We have a good time with them, and it's actually, you know, yesterday we spoke to our artist, and the first 30 minutes of that call were us shooting the shit, talking to him, finding out how his family's doing, what's going on with his band that he's in, how are his TTRPG games going, and hanging out, you know, before we then get into doing the art stuff. So it is like a family collaboration kind of vibe, and each person brings something that makes it better. Like if you look at Tallulah's video from the Wandering Tavern versus this one, she upped her game like
So
tenfold,
much.
like tenfold this time. And she's brought ideas and concepts and styles that we hadn't even thought about, you know? So it's one of those that collaboration is truly what makes us great. It's no one person's work here at Homie and the Dude that makes this company great. It's that every single person who works here is contributing their piece of the puzzle, their cog in the machine.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Absolutely. You know, that, and that sounds like a great working relationship that you've got with everybody there. Well, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with today? I think we got a good overview of everything that's going on here.
How are you finding, you know, it's been a year on since we last talked to you. It's been,
sure.
you know, it's been a while. How have you found the process of continuing to create content? How are you feeling at this moment in your journey?
You know, pretty good. I recently started up a new podcast series called Indie Spotlight that focuses on, you know, indie and small developers, hoping to get a little more marketing juice behind them. You know, it doesn't have a whole lot of followers yet, so if you're watching this, like and subscribe. But you can find some really cool projects that way from people you may not have heard of otherwise. Just another way to support the community there. Otherwise, you know, we're working on Skies of Fortune with my team. You know, that's the Sky Pirate RPG that I've been working on since the pandemic era. It was my pandemic project, and we're going to try and launch in 2027. You know, it's been a long time in coming. It's been a passion project for me. You know, and recently we're getting a couple contributing writers into the project too. We've got a Haitian writer who's going to be writing an island for us that's sort of inspired by Haiti.
Awesome.
Ooh, love that.
That is very interesting because, like, I didn't think that I would want to do that one because, you know, the topic of Haiti is in some ways fraught because they had such a history of, you know, of slavery, and then they were the only country in the world to be formed because of a successful revolt. So that's the thing that they've got. You know, they're pretty badass in that way. So I wanted to do them justice, and I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. So we brought in Blue Bernard, and they are going to be helping us with that. So you know, I'll be posting more about that on social media as it goes forward. But I think it's going to be something very special for our setting. And it's, you know, these kind of collaborations that can really, just to dovetail off what you were saying, that can really make a project sing. So,
yeah, dude, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing incredible work over there, and I'm super looking forward to that. So 2027, that's super soon. Also, you know, you got a good amount of time. How are you finding the creative process? Are you enjoying are you enjoying the lore and like maybe writing like setting and things like that, or are you more, you know, deep in the mechanical stuff? Where's your what part of it are you enjoying, dude?
Sure, you know, my relationship with Richard Stevenson, who's my co-writer for this project, is very similar to, I think, with yours with Emily here, in that Richard is the lead setting writer, and I'm the lead developer. You know, and so I'm mostly focusing on the mechanical stuff. Right now, I'm trying to get the classes fleshed out to like a certain point. And Richard, you know, although the project is, I was the originator of the project. Usually, what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, we're gonna make a place inspired by this country. This kind of people live here, so you go ahead and do whatever you want with it. And then he'll come back with something much better than what I originally intended. So
that's awesome, dude. That's so freaking awesome. So, by the way, it sounds like you've got a very similar setup to us, and that's so amazing that you got a writing partner to go on that kind of journey with you and to tackle this one with you. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you heard the actual play, but Hipster Cthulhu, that's Richard. He's the one who
amazing. Yes.
He played the what was his character's name? He played the old monk from our Wandering Tavern AP.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
also member of the Nausicaa cast. So
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, that's so. Dude, tell me what's one thing that you feel like about Skies of Fortune that is like unique and gonna bring something new to that kind of genre and space? Because it's, I feel like it's both a space that some people like are afraid of actually, and like are like, I'm not gonna step foot in there. And for some reason, us crazy people who want to put things in the sky, so I feel you.
Yeah.
So talk me through some of that. I'm super curious where your head's at with all of
Oh boy, that is a good question. So one thing a couple things that are one or two things that are unique about Skies, huh?
that.
I think one of the things when I was originally doing research about pirate theme settings, Seventh Sea would be the big one, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I found that a lot of them were very narrative focused, and nothing wrong with that. I've really enjoyed playing Seventh Sea, one of my favorite systems out there. But when it comes right down to it, there wasn't a lot of like sort of tactical strategic elements to these games. To ones that were sort of focused on pirates. So I want to make something that is a little more crunchy in this space. And so that's where what I came up with for the system is something that I call semi-crunchy. It's easy to get into, but it gives you added depth based on what class you play, based on all that good stuff. So I'm hoping people will enjoy that aspect to it, and also our basic system is something that I've not seen before. You probably played dice pool systems like World of Darkness or whatever else, but have you played a system that uses only d20s for your die pools?
Oh, that's
So
fun.
we wanted, that may seem like a simple thing, but we find that it has a really good tactile sensation taking a handful of d20s and rolling them in front of you, and then
Nice.
counting up your successes. So that part of it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun classes. Like we have one of my favorite ones is called the Tale Teller, where it's kind of like, if you want to compare it to something, you might compare it to a bard, but what you have to do with it is you can buff your teammates by calling on the stories of famous pirates to imbue them with power. And we use pirates that you've heard of from real life and from fiction. We got Blackbeard, Long John Silver, Black Sam Bellamy, and Bonnie, Captain Nemo. Just like all of your favorite pirates from fiction and real life have found their way into our fictional world. So
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
We're actually based here in Bristol, UK, which is the home of Blackbeard.
Yeah.
There's a pub on King Street that is meant to be his pub. Like it's meant to be the place where there's like a plaque on the wall and everything. So that's
very cool. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. It sounds like you're really putting some thought into it. I love, dice pool systems are really, really awesome. And they can add, like you said, it's a tactile thing. It's also, especially if it's like there's a mixture between, your individual dice pool system, similar to like Tales from the Loop and things like that, the Year Zero system.
Yeah.
Versus then also systems that are like group dice pool, so like 10 candles and things like that. And they're such fun ways to interact and, really, see a different side of TTRPGs rather than just the old add your modifier to it and fucking, that's going to be your, the classic, TTRPG mechanics. I think it does add something a little bit different. So I super love that direction that you've gone with that. And dude, it sounds like you're really putting some thought into this and trying to spread it out, give it as much space to air. You got these beautiful locations, you got awesome classes going on. I think I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm a big pirate person. I love Pirate Borg. I'm a big fan of that kind of theme, genre, vibe, generally just swashbuckling, whether it be on sky, land, or water. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I'm super, super hyped to check this out when it comes out. And
thank you.
Of course, we'll be happy to help in any way that we can with that as well. If you also have any questions or anything about the launch process or anything like that, you please let us know, dude, and we will be delighted to help out, dude.
I really appreciate that, Bodhi. This is our first project, so we're a little nervous about it. So I will be happy to, have that support from you guys.
Of course. Go on, and what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say the idea of like a full dice pool of D20s. I love that. I feel like my D20 is my favorite. All the dice are great. D20s are definitely the best. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that they feel the most powerful. So yeah, I would love a handful of D20s just rolling across the table. That sounds dreamy.
How about a handful
Yeah,
of
yeah,
D's?
exactly.
Oh, exactly.
Dude, an outdoor. I've always wanted to do one of those. You see them online all the time. People like being like, "It's my birthday. We're gonna go play D&D outdoors, where we've got giant dice and we're moving around like in a park or something." And I'm like, in theory, I really want to partake in one of those. In practice, I'm like, I'm not sure how well it would go generally, but I think, God, it does look like an absolute butt ton of fun to grab those giant dice and roll them. You know.
I don't know. Did
Yeah,
you get out a critical hit soda at Gen Con this year?
No, I did not. No, I did not. We were actually, I can't remember what we were doing the night that it was on, but we were at Gen Con. We just didn't get to that show.
No, well, Critical Hit Soda, they have they make sodas with like different syrups in them, so they're like different
amazing.
concoctions. And when you go, and also here's an interesting thing: original TSR employees don't have to pay if they go there. But
That's cool.
when you order, that you roll an enormous D20, and if you get a 20, you get 20% off your order.
Oh, wait a second.
Whoa.
Wait, you're talking about the soda van outside? Is that the one you're talking
That's
about?
the one. I think it's Critical Hit Soda, right?
Dude, I so misheard you. I thought you said Critical Role show.
Oh no.
Dude, you are so, yes, dude. I went there as an English person. I had a soda there, dude. It was like this freaking big. I was like, what are you trying to do? I'm gonna be peeing all day, and I'm gonna have like a sugar boost for hours. This is crazy.
They absolutely go.
Wild.
With all the sugar in that one, it's like, very got to be careful with, an older dude like me who's at risk of, diabetes. He's got it. I only went there only one time just to try it out.
Okay. You're safe. I think you're safe. I think if you do it 2 times, then it's like, cool. You also get your medical card as you're leaving, and they're like, sir, go see a doctor after this one. Like, go get seen to.
It sounds like you only need to go once and you've got your drink for the rest of the week. Like,
Yeah, basically.
Exactly. It's so big. It's like, the Stanley cups that are the ones that have the thing and they're
like
super popular online.
Ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that. They give you like a giant styrofoam one of those, and you're like, dear Lord, this is a lot of drink. I got the small one as well. I was like, I want a small one. And they were like, cool, well, you're sorted forever. This is your camel bladder for the rest of the week. Exactly that. Jeez, yeah, you're so right, dude. That's so funny. Yeah. Did you enjoy the con this year?
I really did. It was my first time going, and I did a couple of we met there. We took a picture together.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I fully remember. Dude, of course I remember.
And there was so much hype around your panel. It was great.
Oh, thanks, dude. That means a lot. That means a lot.
A little story. I had my own panel a few hours afterwards, and I came up to Bodhi and was like, "Oh man, I'm kind of nervous. It's my first ever Gen Con event, and you called me down, and I appreciate that." So,
dude,
a kind word in the right place can go miles. But I did a couple demo games there that were very well received. So, it feels like that's when I decided, okay, it's time to finish this up. And that's when we decided on the 2027 release date. But, I had a lot of fun playing a lot of different games. I played Pirate Borg. I played Curseborn, which is the new Onyx Path Answers to the World of Darkness. What else? I played an indie game called We Can Be Heroes, and later interviewed Spencer Reichley, who is the creator of that game. And I just walked around. I was wowed by the vendor hall about how big that whole thing is. Ridiculous. And then a few days ago I learned that Gen Con's only like a third the size of Spiel Essen in Germany. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
There's a bigger one.
Yeah, dude. Essen's meant to be insane, dude. They say they pull in about 200,000 people a year,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
just
Wow.
insanity. I think this year at Gen Con, it was one of the highest that they'd ever have, and it felt like it. Like this is our second one, and even in the year gap, the vendor hall was ridiculous. You could barely move. I was stunned at how busy it was. The whole con as well. There was never an hour where I was like, oh, it's easier to move in here all of a sudden. Not at all. It was crazy. It was super. And dude, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you, dude. Dude, I fully remember our conversation, and dude, I'm glad that it helped you out. That you know, it means a lot that I was able to help you out. And that, I'm glad you enjoyed the rest of the con, dude, because it is one of those things where I know, like, both times, even this time, I was just like feeling a level of anxiety from how big it was. You're just like, it's so colossal, and it's in the JW, and it's in the actual conference hall, and it's in the Lucas Stadium, and you're like, Jesus, it's everywhere. You're like, there's so much to see. You can't get it all done. It's like one of those theater experiences where you have to go back and do it multiple times. You can't experience it all that first time at all. There's so much.
Yeah, I didn't even get I think I even got only a third of the way through the vendor hall, when I was touring it. So, oh, and here's the thing. We're probably me and Richard are probably going to go to some UK-based con next year. Maybe UKGE even. We're just kind of figuring it out, but I haven't been to Europe since I was a teenager, so I'm eager to go back, Whether or not you consider the UK to be part of Europe, I know that's a dodgy topic.
It's a topic that's in hot debate. Yeah, that's funny, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, if you do come out, dude, I mean, I know we're definitely thinking about UK Games Expo, and thinking about whether we want to attend that and partake in things like that. So if we are there, dude, it would be awesome to link up again and hang out for a little bit, and maybe grab a cider or a pint at a pub or something with you, and
it'll be smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something that won't give us diabetes off rip. We can have 4 or 5 of them and get diabetes. We'll be fine.
Cool.
But yeah, dude, it would be absolutely awesome to see you guys, and also to properly meet your writing partner and to hear more about the whole project. Because again, I feel like us designers and writers, I know with me and Em talk to each other about it, and we're like, this is really cool and stuff. And I talked to Alex, our artist, about it, because he's like a big, he's designed his own games and things like that. And same with Chris Hopper. But outside of that, when normal folk ask us about what we do, we're like, I write books, kind of thing. And they're like, good for you. And that's the end of the conversation. So I'd love to dive into some of that with you guys and have a nice chat about all the game design process and all that good stuff.
To actually, one might say, awesome. Geek out about the whole thing. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Love those kind of conversations. But yeah, I think. Well, let's see. Is there anything else we need to talk about? I think we're about wrapped up. It's been a pleasure having the two of you on today. I'm really eagerly awaiting to see what happens with Scorched Basin. I think I looked today; it was at about $40,000.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. So blew through that first stretch goal for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody, you should absolutely check out this awesome project. I've as a supporter of Homie and the Dude in the past, I can tell you that it's going to be high quality and something you're going to want to see. So click on the link in the description. To get there, to pledge to Scorched Basin, and just enjoy the process. Thank you again. Thank you both for being here today.
Hey, dude.
Thank you. It's been so fun.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for having us, and anyone listening, subscribe to this channel. Like this video, comment on this video, share it, give it an algorithm boost, share it with your nan, share it with your bloody auntie, get it out there, and keep supporting this incredible creator that we have here, who's giving you awesome, interviews, great actual plays, and is now writing you an awesome system to play. So why not support these people? If you're enjoying this, give some love, and support it. That's the most important thing. And dude, thank you so much for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you again.
Absolute pleasure. Have both of you have a great one, and audience, thank you very much. We'll see you at the next one. This has been Round the Table. Bye.